God of the universe, maker of the stars. Who am I that you would know my name?
Welcome to episode number 83 with your and my favorite brain nurse, Alex Stiles, and myself, Mike Clayton. Alex, how are you tonight?
Doing well, Mike. Good to see you again.
I don't know that you've ever had anybody say that you're our favorite brain nurse.
Nope. No,
I'm probably
sir.
like the only one
Yes.
that calls you brain nurse, though, right?
I think it should catch on. I think it
Yeah.
should catch on. It's a wonderful title.
Yeah, it's kind of like the morbid thing is catching on in
Yeah,
places that I
it
never
is.
thought.
It is.
Yeah, I'm still wondering why I left the responsibility of my my reputation in your hands.
Isn't that terrifying? You know, all of our reputations are in other people's hands. And
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's 50-50 between our actions and their words, but yeah.
You know, that'd make a program, actually.
It really would.
That the vast majority of what a person might think of us is what someone else might already said.
Yeah, and considering how unreliable most people are, you know, there's a warning in there of not just accepting hearsay about what someone is, but meeting them and finding out for yourself.
Yeah, it's kind of like the old game telephone where you said something and it went around the room and it came back. You know, by the time this wonderful person, by the time it goes around the room, they're a real jerk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, hey, you have done something recently that I have to congratulate you on, and that is you read a book I recommended.
I did. I decided to do a weird thing and, you know, take your pastor's advice. You know, what a concept.
Well,
But yeah.
yeah, it is
Yeah.
a concept because it got me thinking as I was preparing for this today of the hundreds of people that I have recommended one book to. Okay. Now we're talking about anywhere from youth to older, and even oldest that I have recommended. And I've said, standing in front of people, I have said that outside of the scripture, I believe that the most important book that I have ever read or recommended to anyone is a book called Pursuit of Purpose by Dr. Miles Monroe.
Yep.
There you go. You've got a newer version than I do.
Yep.
I've gone so far as I gave away my original copy, which I won't do again. I have bought them for other people, which I won't do again, because the vast majority of people will not read something. You give somebody something and it doesn't mean anything to them.
That's fair because you have to have that initiation of effort on their part.
And sometimes that effort needs to be backed up with a few dollars out of the wallet.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and so this got me on another thought process. You know, I got to go from one thing to the other. And if you've ever played pinball, the old machine, you know, what we had, I guess probably today there's an app for that, but I don't think it's nearly
I played pinball on a computer.
Okay.
I've never played it on a physical machine.
Oh, wow.
Literally, I've never played on a physical machine. I've only played on a computer.
You're like, I don't know how you survive in life then.
You know, I don't know.
I mean, the last, I'll tell you, the last computer game that I played was actually Atari when Pong came out.
That's a classic. It's a good one.
It was on television. That's the first and last one I ever played. But I remember, if anybody's ever seen pinball, it's kind of like, you hit something and it causes it to go all the way over the other side and back and forth and all. That's kind of a lot of times how my brain is going. So
it's a good analogy for life too.
Yeah, this got me going on something of. I'm coming to the conclusion that regarding life, most people are lazy.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm not talking about going out and mowing the yard or doing a job, but regarding their life their life plans, their life purposes, where they're going in life, all of that, they're basically, most people are just lazy. Why is it
Sure.
the
Sure.
most important thing, Alex, which would be, to each of us would be our own lives? Why would people not give any more effort into it than they do?
I think there's two reasons.
Okay.
I think the first reason would be accepting mediocrity,
Mm,
accepting a mediocre life if I can get with minimal effort, than not having the drive to get the next level effort of with an extreme amount of effort. I'm gonna
mhm,
give a very simple example. You've been to my house
mhm,
on Shabbat,
mhm.
and like I tell my fellow nurses, if we need to, we could perform surgery in my wife's kitchen. It is OR level, sterile, and clean. Okay. Yeah.
Mhm,
Extreme
mhm.
effort. All right. That is an extreme effort of clean. Now, not only is it just clean, but it's organized and things are arranged artistically and pleasing to the eye. Like,
True.
I put the dishes away and you're just lucky if they're just put away, yet somehow the things, the pots and pans that hang on the wall are not only on the wall, they're artistically arranged on the wall.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
That is a lot of effort. And this is a simple example, but it applies to life. Whereas you could also be willing to accept a mediocre level of I swiped the counter and got rid of the crumbs, and I have a mediocre level where the kitchen's it's clean,
Mhm.
but it doesn't look amazing. You can put a mediocre level of effort into your life and have a meh acceptable life.
Mhm.
But it takes an extreme amount of effort to take it up to that level of amazing
Mm.
life. I think there's the second reason that comes too. So one, there's willing that commitment to effort,
Okay.
and their second part is that people do not treat themselves as if they are somebody they loved.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So they don't put the effort that they would want to see someone they love put in their life. Short answer. Let me phrase that another way.
mhm.
They don't care enough about themselves to put the next level of effort to making their life better.
Okay. So let me just throw this to you. Where does that come from? Where is the seed? Okay, everything that is fruit has to have a seed. And so
Mhm.
where would you say, I've got an idea, but where would you say from your perspective the seed of that came from?
Genesis chapter 2, or is it 3? I need to reread. It was the first temptation.
Mhm.
The first thing that Hasatan told a woman was, "You're not enough." He told her, "You can be like God.
Mhm.
You can be more. If you eat this, it will make you more pleasing. It is pleasing. It will make you wiser. It will make you more."
Mhm.
Basically, flip that around. He told her, "You are not enough." Now,
Mhm.
Adam missed a wonderful opportunity. He was the only man in all of recorded history who could have looked at his wife and told her, "You are perfect the way you are."
True.
Legit.
Yeah.
Legit. The man could have done that. Okay.
Yeah.
But now he failed. Now there's a moral failing there.
Mhm.
There's a mistake there.
Mhm.
And, and we could certainly go into that in man not, supporting husband,
Mhm.
not supporting his wife.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that's the origin of the seed. Like it's
Okay.
worked from the garden. It's still working now. Hasatan doesn't have to change tactics when
Okay.
telling you you're not enough works.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
I like that. I think those are good examples. Let me give you another level here, something bring in a different place from a different place that the most generations, um, probably for the last 50 years plus, have been told that their great grandparents were a slime pond.
Mm. Hmm.
Okay. And that out of that slime pond came a tadpole. We're not
Hmm.
sure how the tadpole got there. We're not sure how the slime pond got there. But
Hmm.
a tadpole comes up and grows into a frog. wind blowing over the warts on the frog became ears. The frog eventually became a monkey. The monkey became an ape. The ape became a man. And so I am a product of random chance that just kind of came along. And so why do I have any purpose in my life if all I am is a product of random chance?
Yes. Instead of being a child of God who's created and cares for you, you are a random accumulation of numbers from a dispassionate mechanical universe.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you have hope? Why would you have a purpose?
And it doesn't make sense. Our mutual friend on the program here, Jared, put a post up the other day that a person looks at their watch and sees intelligent design, but looks at the wrist that the watch is on and sees some random chance.
Yes.
Doesn't
Yes.
make any sense at all. So, with that, I want to go to a statement by Dr. Monroe. The greatest tragedy in life is not death, but life without a reason. It is dangerous to be alive and not know why you were given life. Now, folks, those of you that have not taken my advice and and read this book yet, that's not even in chapter 1. That's the preface.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's the preface.
Yes.
And from there it gets deeper. Okay. So I want you to just give this is the first ever Life on Purpose book report.
Yes. Yes.
How much importance do you put in the fact that you read this book? And number two, at what age would you have liked to have gone back and read it the first time?
Oh, heavens. Early as possible, honestly. Would love to have read it early as possible in life. Hugely important. And see, it was one of those things where I see a lot of people that, and in your conversations, they talk about, a few other of our church members have read it. Is it Chris? I forget which of them was one of our fellow church members. I think we were talking about who'd read it. Anyway, he was agreeing, terribly hard to get past like the first chapter. And I go through and I'm reading the preface and the chapter and chapter 1, chapter 2. And I'm like, and I'm rolling right through. Because you see, not in an ambiguous or a frivolous, unimportant, but like, yeah, I've figured that out already. Because it took me, but I would love to have had it spelled out for me in the book much earlier than life, than having gone through a long period of trying to find and understand these same answers. Because to tell you one thing he made, there's a few I got some notes in front of me where for the big things that stuck out at me. You see, one thing I've never pondered or never manner in which I've never forced myself to view it is God working good things through my very lifelong depression. Because as I'm working through this, I went through a very long time, a long journey of looking for things that are actually important in life. And if you exist in a state of chronic depression, you figure out pretty quickly, what things are frivolous and meaningless and what things are worth effort in life. And you don't have to be told, life is suffering. You know that. And so there is an effort there in looking for it. So as I'm working through these books and I'm realizing that these are concepts that are life-changing on this first and second chapter here in the preface, I'm realizing these are things I came across a long time ago.
Yep, there's the internet.
Yep, there's the internet.
Yeah.
Came back again.
A long time ago.
That I figured out a long time ago via blessings that God worked through my depression, allowing me to see the things that were important there. And absolutely, it's a very foundational book that doesn't take you that it's not this philosophy book where you have to sit there and stretch your mind around a concept, right? He takes it through very basically, gives you very basic examples and works you through these foundational concepts. I would definitely prefer to read it earlier. It will be on my son's required list. Maybe a little younger than when they're fully able to grasp everything about it.
Mhm.
And then to continue to read it and learn more, just as well. You know, same thing we're called to do with scripture. It's not like we already grasp everything. I don't think there is an age too young to read this book and start gleaning efforts and pieces from it.
No, because here's the concept going back to Genesis chapter 3, and there's points in Dr. Monroe's book. And by the way, for those who have never heard me talk about this, I don't know how you could not, because I mention him everywhere. But Dr. Monroe grew up in abject poverty in the Bahamas, Nassau. Decided at a very young age that he would not be in poverty, decided at a very young age that he would begin to know his creator, decided that he would, in order to do that, he had to read scripture. So he read the scripture through many times, ended up becoming an evangelist of youth on the Isle of in the Bahamas, was very sought after, was a musician for a part of his life. Later on in his life, he would minister to presidents, world leaders, being paid a lot for a basic lecture of whatever whatever you want to call it, a sermon, whatever. He was flown into places. He actually wanted to buy an airplane. He wanted to have his own airplane. That would be his demise in the end, because he was killed in a plane crash on final approach into Nassau. When I was in the Bahamas a number of years ago, we actually I was on a cruise that was paid for by something else besides, it wasn't me, but it was a very moving experience for me to watch in the distance planes coming into the airport there in Nassau. So going back to all that, just to give a little bit more of detail about him and who he is and why he's, I was able to be in a conference with him in Orlando a number of years ago. Here's a statement: only God knows the purpose for your life. Okay, so you're talking about having James and Judd read this, and I mean, I can just imagine sitting down after James and Judd read some of this and having a conversation with them. That's going to be a treat.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. To understand that God has a purpose, that the Creator, the one that gave you breath originally, not a random act, but the one who gave you breath originally, has a plan for you. And then to take it one step further into Dr. Monroe's words, that the very fact that you're breathing is evidence that the world needs you.
Yes. So, things that really stood out to me, and sections that stood out in the book, where, where I as many other, you get saved.
You gotta, I'm gonna have some editing to do today, tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a very deep cloud cover overhead, so
yeah, I know.
We'll have some serious editing here. One of the biggest concepts that came over to me as I read this was, he said, you can tell the purpose of a thing by looking at it. The example he gave was a bulldozer. You don't have to look at a bulldozer and wonder what it's for. All right. It's not like, is that meant to, just pick, it's obvious. That thing's meant to move big, heavy things around. Okay. Fairly destructive, not meant for nice, delicate work. Right. That is a bulldozer.
Really fun to drive.
That I believe so. It sounds like. Well, then he took that one step further, where I'm like, why is this not being taught in every single youth group ever? He basically said the most ridiculous thing you can ask is that God saves you. And then you're asked, well, what is my purpose and how am I supposed to serve him? Because we look at things out of order, because we are viewing God as if he is restrained by time. All right. That he's He's called me, and now I have to find my purpose that he's called me for.
Mhm.
But understand that time is this little temporary interruption in eternity,
Mm.
and God exists on an eternal scale.
Mhm.
So here's the thing: God made you knowing he was going to call you.
Hmm.
Therefore, he made what he needed to call. Stop looking for bizarre, random purposes as to how you are supposed to serve God, and look in the mirror and look at what he created. He did not create a musician and then say, "Hey, I want you to open up a butcher shop over here."
Mhm.
If he created you with the gift of music, then you are to use what he created
Yeah.
in service to him, right?
Hmm.
And this is so simple, but so it is truly a paradigm shift. A totally, take the veil off of, oh, that's what I'm supposed to do.
Mhm.
That's how I'm supposed to serve him. And
Go ahead.
please go ahead.
One of the hardest questions I'm asked is when I start talking about purpose, people will come up to me and say, "Well, how do I find my purpose?" And you know, I can't find another person's purpose in life.
Mm-mm.
Okay,
No.
it is a simple yet very complex, maybe one of the most complex things in the world, is finding out why the Father created you. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it takes, I mean, it takes effort. And this goes back to the laziness. If, well, God, I'm just going to pray that you give me, show me what my purpose is, but then make no effort
Mm-hmm.
in order to do anything. Make no
Mm-hmm.
effort to read anything or to look into his word or spend more time in prayer or find people that you can talk to that
Mm-hmm.
you feel like have they have found their purpose in life. I mean, if a person's not willing to put out the very basic effort, then they're really, if they ever find what that purpose is, they're probably not going to put any effort out to do anything with it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as soon as you found your purpose in being a minister, like, it only took the most minimal effort, right? You barely have to work at it, right?
Most people think so, yeah.
Right.
You know,
Right. Like,
yeah.
seriously, it's like you found the purpose. Like, I'm gonna bet that you had to start working a whole lot harder at this whole purpose of ministry than you did when you just had your carpet cleaning business. Those were
Yeah,
probably easier days.
yeah, it was. I mean, I can pretty much teach any individual how to clean carpets. It may, some may be a little bit better because of they're lazy, but people look now and it's like, wow, you make this look so easy. Okay, I've been
Tough.
doing this for 30 years, plus 30 plus years. All right.
Mhm.
Next month will be 31 years since I
Mhm.
took over a little church in the Big Bend where that hurricane's coming into, by the way.
Mm.
I checked in with one of my board members who lives there, and I said, "You need to get up on the roof and take that bullseye off because they've had these hurricanes come through there, and this one looks like it's going to go right over BB and Renee's house also." But
Oof.
you know, I took over this little church and then figured out that I had to do 3 messages every week. And I had not gone really had not gone through seminary.
Mhm.
I had not gone through a formal Bible school except for a correspondence, which that and, $5 will buy you a cup of coffee. Um, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. So 31 years later, yeah, I've spent 31 years, actually more than that, but in full-time ministry, I spent 31 years digging this well.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets a little easier after a while, but in the beginning, you're going to have to put those first shovelfuls of dirt. Those are tough shovels.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The thing in on that is that, well, the question is, well, why would you do something that's harder then? Because you found the purpose.
Mm.
And I'm gonna lay this out here, but like, okay, life is rough, life's suffering, whether that be physical pain, emotional pain, whether it be whatever you're going through. But somehow I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that cleaning carpets, though it paid the bills, cleaning the carpets did not make the suffering of life worth enduring.
Mm. Yeah. I paid the bills. I made, we had a very successful company. I tell the story. This was 1980s and I was making $35 an hour. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now people say, well, that's a lot of money now. Yeah. You should have, that was a lot of money back then. And I went from that to making $125 a week as a pastor full time. Okay. And somebody told me one day, they said, I thought you got in this for the money. Really? Mhm.
Oh,
But
no, but the
here,
retirement package is pretty good.
yeah, I've heard that. Uh, so here's an interesting one. You got me just kind of thinking on this. That when you find what your purpose is, it may startle you in the end to figure out what is driving that purpose.
In what manner?
Okay, so I've had this asked of me a number of times. Mike, why do you do what you do? You
Mm.
know, why do you, I do 4 broadcasts a week, pastor our congregation the best I can, minister to other people as I was trying to do today. Um, and somebody, and I get a text. Okay. I'm on the golf course today, ministering. Couple of holes were pretty good. Others were not, but, this has actually become a part of my, of ministering to some guys that I think is very important. And so I get a text while I'm on the golf course by one of the group from our congregation, and she said, she said, Mike, you feed us. What feeds you?
Mm-hmm. I read that.
Yeah, and I said I got to think about that for a minute before I come back with something. And people would come up with a lot of different things. Well, my statement back ended up being this. I said, no, where'd I put it? I said, focusing on the people whose lives I see growing, maturing, and changing.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I do this? Why am I doing what I'm doing? It's because in the process, I found my favorite brain nurse
Mm.
and his family, and
Mm-hmm.
and a Johnny and a Paul and other people that are out there as someone today that helps support our ministry sent just a simple note. I got a phone call a few days ago. I mean, I'm not doing this for me and for my, so that I can make a name for myself, but what drives me is seeing people's lives change.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, Alex,
Absolutely.
there's, when you see a person's life change and you know that you've been a part of that, that the Father,
Mm-hmm.
the creator of the universe, has worked through an imperfect, fallible person to help someone draw closer to him,
Mm-hmm.
there's no dollar amount you can put on that.
No, no.
It's just not there. So a person finding their purpose, why do I feel like it is important for someone to read Dr. Monroe's book, to go online as I still do? His sermons are online or on YouTube, and I still to this day will go back once in a while and I just need a little bit of why, because he he is speaking to that purpose that's inside of me.
Mhm.
Dr. Monroe speaks to that. Proverbs 18:16 says, a man's gift will make room for him, and he will stand before great ones. I found the gift that is in me that the Father put there. Dr. Monroe speaks to that,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
then brings things forth from that. So one of my counsels to people would be, find people that speak to the gift that's in you.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Uh, it's a basic statement, but someone said you can tell where you're going, or said I can tell where you're going by the 5 people you hang out with.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's who you surround yourselves with. The other thing, people try to measure a second statement that was impressive, and I'll get to like a third one here. It says that God does not measure you in years lived. And I thought, okay, why not? Because he already intended man to live forever.
Mhm.
Like, let that one stew for a minute.
Mhm. Yeah.
So the number of years you live isn't how he ever intended to measure you, because you were never intended to die. He measures in what have you done with your life,
Mhm.
what the things that you are doing, and that what you are doing and finding is based off the purpose that you find and fulfilling that purpose.
Mhm.
I love this one because it's just a deep quote. It said, "We are unaware of his plans. This ignorance is dangerous because it permits the possibility that we will live all our lives and never know why we lived."
Yeah.
I'd like to know why I lived. I'm around death every day.
Mhm.
Yeah. Nature of my job.
Yeah.
Do what I can to save some people. Sometimes death comes quickly. Sometimes I watch death coming slowly. Someone leaves my unit, and I know 90, 98% statistics say, that person will be dead 6 months.
Mhm.
Some of them, I look at them and I can just, I know they're going to be dead 2 years. Doesn't necessarily mean they might not have the best 2 years of your life, as odds defying as that would be. Some people don't wake up to their life until they see death. It's a shame, but some people don't wake up to their lives until they see death hovering over them.
Mhm.
But either way, I live in death. And my fellow brain nurses, the fellow morbidites, we're all in agreement and have said many times, death's not the worst thing that happens to people. A lot of times, the worst thing that happens to people are in their life.
Yeah. Yeah. Life can be the worst thing that ever happened to them
Mm-hmm.
because they never figured out why they had that life.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And therefore,
Yeah.
you have all of the suffering and all the things that we go through,
Mhm.
and there's no reason and
Mhm.
there's no purpose to give you strength. There we go. We're back.
Yeah.
Um, there's nothing that balances the scales. If you want to put on all of the suffering you go through versus I accomplished this, it was worth it. One of the most basic examples I can give this is a woman in childbirth. You
Mhm.
or I will never know the pain associated with childbirth.
That would be the way for zero population growth.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mhm.
But I watched my wife twice go through those pains of birth, and it was worth it because there was a child at the end.
Yeah.
Your life is the same way. It's like going through all of that pain for no reason.
Mhm.
No one would get pregnant if there wasn't going to be a kid at the end, right? There's no way you go through all that misery. Here, would you like to throw up for 9 months straight?
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you
Yeah.
like to worry about whether or not you can make it to the bathroom in time? Would you
Mhm.
like to not be able to eat your
Mhm.
favorite foods?
Mhm.
It's great. Why? Absolutely not.
I know.
Oh,
No. No. Yeah.
for a
I want to go back.
child?
I want to go back a
Yeah.
little bit on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You said people in your this Morbidite thing is getting its own little thing. Okay.
It
And
is.
I want to describe this as you said it this week is, we have people like that you're working with that are in horrendous places.
Mhm.
You're seeing the worst of people. It'd be
Yes.
like a soldier in the midst of a war. But what we're doing is we're not saying those things are not happening. Okay, as
Yes.
I saw a meme from a prosperity teacher today, actually, that was basically saying, act like these things are not happening. Well, that's
The
dumb.
emptiest thing.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It's incredibly dumb.
yeah, that's just dumb. It's like, there's a religion called Christian Scientists that they basically believe that whatever's happening is not happening. So, you're sitting there, you're hit by a car and you've got, one arm is over on that side of the street and the
Mhm.
other arm is on that side and there's blood everywhere. And you're like, that didn't happen.
Yeah, that's a delusion. Those are
Mhm.
hallucinations, and we make medications for that.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, like, legit, you try to embrace that as some kind of a religion, and you're just delusional.
Yeah, yeah. So what we're doing is not saying that these things are not happening. We're saying, no, this is the reality of life right now.
Yes.
My phone was going off probably about 100 times today because I have an app on Red Alert called Red Alert that tells me when every rocket
Yes.
is launched out of either Gaza or out of Lebanon, and it went over, like I said, about 100 times. I can turn it off,
Mm.
but I'm not allowed to turn it off because because the Father won't let me. I can turn it off, but it's still happening. But
Mhm.
what we're trying to do is say, in the midst of that, there's hope.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
In the midst of the suffering and all that, I know the plans I have for you, says Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, says God, to give you plans for good and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. Even though everything right now looks like pain and suffering, there is hope and a future for us in
Yes.
Him. Okay. So back
Yes.
to this, that a person sometimes finds that hope not in their life, but in their death.
Yes.
The last moments of their life is like this deathbed conversion.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. All of a sudden I wake up to the fact that God created me. And
Mhm.
I'm like, wow, I've got purpose, but I've got 24 hours.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
like a candle that is burned that was lit when you were born.
Mhm.
And that candle burned the complete time of your life.
Mhm.
But in the moment that it was that you were dying, the candle, the light was blown out, and you offered God the smoke.
Yes. Yes.
You never offered him the light, but you offered him the smoke at the end. What a tragedy
Yes.
that would be.
Yes. And for many people, it takes their imminent death to put the meaninglessness of the frivolity, the meaninglessness, the vanity, to use, King James Ecclesiastes there, all is vanity, right?
Mhm.
It takes that level of that shock of death to take away the frivolity, to put life in perspective.
Mhm.
Perspective is the word I'm looking for.
Mhm.
And in a peculiar manner, I had to give the strangest prayer, not really thanking God. One of those things where I just had to present him with the idea because I didn't have the words for it. Not thanking him for depression because that's terrible, but thanking him for the gift that came out of depression, that I was able to see the meaninglessness of most things and to understand that I didn't need that paradigm shift at the end of life to understand that most things are meaningless and there's only few things that are truly worth your time, your effort: family, God,
Yeah.
love.
Yeah. Okay, we got one more. We got time for one more point from you. Go for it.
Yes,
You got another one there?
that's wonderful because this is the final point.
Okay. Hey, it's
Segueing
almost
right
like we
off of,
planned this.
I know, right? Maybe someone else planned it.
Yeah, because I didn't even send you a text today.
I know, right? Final point. Segueing straight from this of dealing with death. Has been impossible not to be a small fear of death
Mhm.
in me. Universal for some people. But if you deal with it every day,
Yeah.
I continuously see death as a thief,
Mhm.
right? Figuratively speaking. Lives are cut short. I see as horrible, as tragic. And one of my quiet studies as I've read and I've looked is grappling with this concept of death, grappling with my own mortality, right?
Mhm.
Like, oh, you're 34. Why are you grappling with your own mortality? Because death stares me in the face every day I go to work. I can't ignore the concept of that. And Miles Monroe, through God's blessing, answered that question very easily. He said, dying is death after purpose has been fulfilled.
Mhm.
You don't die until God's finished with you, until you have finished your purpose for Him. Long as I am walking in Him, doing my best, just the best I can do as a flawed being, trying to interact with my Creator and
Mhm.
what I should do about this God that's made me. I'll die when I've finished my purpose.
You know, in being with Miles in a conference, he also kind of balances that out with a statement that I've used in many times when I'm speaking is what is the richest place on planet Earth? And people Fort Knox or the bank no. That's poverty compared to this. The richest place on the planet today is cemeteries
Mm-hmm.
because cemeteries are filled with buried purpose.
Yes.
So you and I actually have a choice, Alex. And I think, and this would line up with if we look at if somebody listens to me, somebody comes to Life Assembly and they listen to me on 1 week and then they listen to me 3 weeks later, maybe it seems like I'm contradicting myself because you didn't put the two together.
Mm-hmm.
Because, see, in the end, we have a choice in this of what we're going to do. So we have a choice whether to seek that purpose out and then whether to act on that purpose and whether to allow that purpose to come forth. So we
Mm-hmm.
can actually die one of two ways. We can die with our purpose in us or die empty.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
Yes.
my choice in life is I desire if I'm still counting on walking into the kingdom. Okay. When I pray those words, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as is in heaven. I'm like soon into my day. Okay. If you're looking for
Mm-hmm.
volunteers to walk into the kingdom and not see death, I'm your man here. Okay. But
Yeah.
if for some reason, I don't make that one, I want to die empty. It's
Yes.
like a friend of mine years ago, her husband passed away. And she was a amazing friend of this ministry and supporter. And um, I miss the conversations with Emma. Emma Welch, of blessed memory. What an incredible lady she was. Um, when I needed something in my own life, there's a few people that I know that it's just like they know and then they're going to call me like one did the other day. Thank you, Dorothy. Um, and I could go on with a list of a number of them right now. Um, but Emma it was just a wonderful, wonderful lady. And she said her husband died. Get back on topic. Her husband died and left her pretty well off. And she said to me one time, she says, I want to die having written my last check.
Yes.
And she would always call me and say, is there anything else you need in ministry? Is there anything else you need? Is there somewhere you need to support? Is there somewhere you need to give? Is there a piece of equipment that you need? She said, I want to die having written my last check.
Mhm.
That's the same attitude we should have, Alex, about life itself. Is we should die having written our last check of the purpose, the bank account purpose.
Right. Of our spiritual
Yeah.
gift of our bank account.
Yeah.
Our yes, absolutely. My grandpa was a cowboy, actually one of the last generations who, truly was a cowboy.
Oh.
And he had this sticker or something posted on it. He says, life is not meant to arrive at the end of it looking all pristine and proper in your Sunday best clothes. He says, life is meant to get the end of it having ridden hard, exhausted, drenched, and slide into the inn on your horse saying, wow, what a ride. And that fit him.
Yeah.
And yes, should be our approach, that when we get to the end, we've given everything.
Yeah. Seek your purpose. Seek him, because in doing so, you're going to find that he has plans for you. Plans not for evil, but for good. That there is a purpose. There is a future. There is a hope. But each of us must reach out and grab it. It's not just going to come to you, so it's not going to be delivered by Amazon. You're going to have to find it.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care, Alex.
Take care. See you next week.
You got it. Bye.
Who am I that you would know my name? What kind of love would part